Kia ora, good evening. New Zealand's lockdown is now just over 24 hours away. Our biggest chance to fight Covid-19 and save thousands of lives. The number of cases has surged again, this time including 3 students from Marist College for Girls in Auckland. There are 40 new cases of coronavirus, taking the total number of confirmed and probable infections to 155. 4 are considered community transmissions. 12 people have recovered so far. Earlier today, the government revealed a 6-month mortgage holiday scheme for households affected by the virus and a $6 billion business guarantee scheme to help small and medium-sized businesses with bank loans. More on that shortly, but first, a reprieve for those battling to get home for tomorrow night's historic lockdown. With details, here's reporter Imogen Wells.
This is the Bluebridge Ferry Terminal in Picton earlier today.
From 6 o'clock this morning, over 100 people outside.
Queues of people just desperate to get home before the country enters lockdown at midnight tomorrow. But they'll now have 2 more days. Anyone needing to travel within New Zealand on flights, trains and Cook Strait ferries will now be able to do so before midnight Friday. The domestic travel ban extension a welcome relief for both travellers and our transport services. This morning, hundreds of Otago University students flooded Dunedin Airport.
It was pretty devastating, to be honest. Didn't think I was going to be able to get home. Probably one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me.
We were all just frantically on the Air New Zealand website trying to get flights, but they were all just selling out straight away.
My mum's going through chemo and stuff, so I had to get home, so it was a really stressful time.
Back in Picton, others were questioning why freight trucks were getting a ferry ride while people wait.
All those trucks should be parked and cars get on their place. You could probably fit 4 or 5 cars in one huge truck.
Slowing freight down by 2 days while we get our people home really seems sensible to me.
Air New Zealand says it's doing everything it can to cope with the unprecedented demand.
Putting on additional aircraft, including larger aircraft, to ensure that we can get as many people moving as possible. Go to our website, you'll find where those additional seats are available and on what services.
With this plea for anyone who doesn't need their planned getaway.
If you have travel in place that you're not planning on using, please go to our website and cancel that booking. What this will do is free up really important seats for customers who need to travel domestically.
And the message for those who still need a flight home before midnight Friday: book online and not over the phone. Imogen Wells, One News.
Well, as the country prepares for a lockdown, only essential services will continue to operate. This means food, medicine, healthcare, energy, fuel, waste removal and financial support will continue to be available. Here's Laura James with what you need to know.
With the whole family home, the next 4 weeks may not be easy. A blocked toilet or electrical issues with the fridge would make it worse, but don't fear.
It's using a bit of common sense, really. If it's a danger to you or your family or to your house, whether that be the kids have been running around and have broken a power point and there's live wires sticking out, we could come and fix that for you.
It's been made clear supermarkets will remain open during the lockdown, with procedures in place to maintain social distancing while shopping. But big retail brand The Warehouse got a sharp serve today from the government after declaring it was an essential service and would be open.
Don't, for instance, expect to be able to go to your local warehouse.
The government has not decided that the warehouse will be open. We don't want a bunch of people showing up to retail stores.
The government cautioning businesses from making any assumptions without its input.
The purpose of the essential services list is not to ensure that life goes on unchanged, it's to ensure that we are able as a nation to self-isolate and eradicate and eliminate COVID-19.
Vehicle services like mechanics will be available, but only for some.
General public for general work and servicing and warrants, that'll have to wait, but the people that do need to get to work for essential service, doctors, nurses, fire, police, if their cars break down and they can't get to work, we'll be there to help them out, and that's all we'll be able to do at the time being.
Optometrists shut and dental work limited to emergencies. And just like us humans, our pets will also be looked after.
Reassurance for the community is on almost every street corner there's likely to be a veterinarian that's open around the country. So don't sit at home and think that if Fluffy's in pain or isn't doing well that you have to stay at home.
Interactions will look different though.
The first thing that you notice is when you turn up at our hospitals, the public isn't allowed in the hospital anymore, just in an effort to create another barrier. The frontline team are wearing personal protective equipment.
Service stations and banks still operating, taxis and public transport available for essential travel only, which includes supermarket trips, and rubbish will still be collected. Assurance that vital needs will be met. Laura James, One News.
And the government has in the last half hour announced exactly what it classes as essential services. Our reporter Ashley Yates is in the Auckland newsroom. Ashley, what will remain open from Thursday?
Well, Jenny, government ministers have met tonight and have provided some clarification around essential services which will be able to remain open as the lockdown comes into force at 11:59 tomorrow night. Supermarkets, they've reiterated they will remain open over the 4-week lockdown period. Dairies, they will remain open, however with a one-in, one-out rule. This will allow for social distancing. If they break these rules, they will have to close. Hardware stores like Bunnings and Mitre 10, they can stay open, but only for trade customers. Food delivery services like Uber Eats, they must close their doors, but services like My Food Bag and HelloFresh, they can still operate during these times. Like Laura James just explained in her track, much confusion around the warehouse today after they came out saying it was an essential service. However, the government tonight doubling down, they've said the warehouse will need to close its doors. Jenny.
Thanks, Ashley, live from our Auckland newsroom. Well, more than $300 million will be used to keep air freight routes open during the lockdown to make sure essential goods like prescription drugs can still get here. The message again from officials, don't panic, we will not run out of supplies. This comes as Kiwis continue to stock up. Joy Reid reports.
Garden centres.
Been flat out actually.
Bottled stores.
It's been absolutely flat out.
DIY shops also, yes, flat out as Kiwis ready themselves for a 4-week lockdown.
Basically just vegetables for the kids to plant something and also some seeds to look after the garden.
As quick as we're putting them on the bench, they're going out.
Hardware stores doing a roaring trade as people stock up for projects at home, car parks at a premium.
I'm buying about enough to lay 120 square metres of tiles, a lot of glue.
Items now considered essential, flying off shelves.
They're going for it, everyone's panicking.
Technology and whiteware also in hot demand.
It's an ex-display model because they've run out of everything, so yeah, we just got the last one.
Those forced to queue for supplies doing so with a 2-metre gap as shops limit the number of customers inside. Calmer scenes as supermarkets open today though.
Because I'm teaching my children this week, I've decided to buy baking goods just so I can incorporate that into their learning.
Well, I've stockpiled a few tins of soup and that's about it.
But some shoppers aren't taking any chances.
I'm healthy and I want to stay healthy, so I'm just making sure I protect my hands and my mouth.
Security was stepped up at some supermarkets today, and as of Thursday, staff will be wearing protective masks and large perspex screens will be erected at the checkouts to act as sneeze guards.
Some shelves were empty today though.
No flour, unfortunately.
Supermarkets say that's because it's been like Christmas Eve demand for 3 weeks solid.
Last week we sold enough food in one day to feed 10 million New Zealanders. So obviously that's causing immense strain on our supply chain and the way we replenish our stores.
One News was allowed into Countdown South Auckland Distribution Centre to see just how much stock there is. There's a lot. Aisles stocked to the ceiling with toilet paper alone.
All our suppliers are working through the lockdown.
The message again and again.
We've got plenty of food in New Zealand to look after you for the coming months.
And shop normally and be kind. Joy Reid, One News.
And Finance Minister Grant Robertson announced another major financial support package to cushion the economic impacts of the virus. Political editor Jessica Mackay has the details.
The government says no one should be forced to sell their home because of this pandemic.
So it's announced a deal with banks offering those under pressure a 6-month mortgage holiday.
It's open to all of those who have been affected by COVID-19.
It means people wouldn't have to pay the principal and interest on their mortgage until September.
Clearly there has been a very significant impact on all businesses, all parts of the economy and all workers, and so therefore I would expect this would be something that a very large number of mortgage customers would take up.
More help for businesses today too, with a $6.25 billion business finance guarantee scheme for small and medium businesses. It will be capped at $500,000 per loan with 3 years to pay it back.
Our goal is to cushion the blow.
When it comes to those $585 per week wage subsidies, nearly $700 million has been paid out, and there have been 117,000 applications so far.
The truth is, there'll be a lot of businesses out there where look, that job subsidy just doesn't hit the mark, and the gap is so large that they will be letting people off.
Also an update this afternoon for tens of thousands of New Zealanders travelling overseas. You need to prepare to stay where you are.
Yeah, we're pretty desperate to be home. Obviously, New Zealand's going into lockdown and it'd just be nice to be in the same country as our loved ones, obviously not in the same house.
The government is considering Mercy flights and using hotels here as quarantine facilities, but transit hubs like Singapore are closing down.
Very, very, very difficult. It's one thing, of course, to have Air New Zealand available to make flights. It is another if they have no ability to land in order to make that transit route an option.
The Prime Minister pleading for patience.
We have never shut down our country before, so I will ask people to work with us.
Shutting down the country begins at 11:59 tomorrow night. Jessica Much-Mackay, One News.